morning, everyone. Happy Thursday. I am so happy to see you all. If you weren't here yesterday, my name is Tianve Barnes, and I am from Sweet Home, Alabama. I am a GSP steering committee member and the program coordinator at Southern Partners Fund. It is such a joy to be with you all. We have had some good information yesterday. Yesterday was full of just good conversation. We kicked it off with a front porch conversation. We had some sweet tea and some lemonade yesterday, and we could have kept going. We could have probably had a barbecue or a fish fry. If you know, you know. And so we are just so grateful that you are here. We want to take a moment to acknowledge those who are in the eye of the storm, have been impacted. We're going to keep them in our thoughts and prayers because we know that recovery is possible. We know it will be hard, but we are here with them and for them. So we want to go ahead and get today started because I told somebody yesterday, I said the South has something to say, and the South is spelled S-O-U-F. Okay, remember that, not South. But if you hear me say South, that's because the South has something to say. But we want to introduce Chantel.
Good morning, everybody. Good to see everybody here again. And I am just here with a lot of love and appreciation again. And just, the Zoom life is the life we have right now, and just appreciate the level of connection that we feel. I am definitely a big champ of Marco Quiroga and the Contigo Fund. Love Southern Power Fund, been a big part of that with the GSP crew. And just also want to shout out to Tamika and the team for all the good work they're doing to make us feel so connected today. So, I want to just say, what we're going to hear right now is another that's going to join us on the porch, right? To drink some more tea, maybe some lemonade, and hear from the folks who are, shepherding this work. And this work is not jumping out of the sky, you know what I'm saying? Out of nowhere. This is work that's built on decades and generations of organizing and thoughtful work that's led by Southern movement folk who've been around the block with philanthropy, you know what I'm saying? And are building on that wisdom. So, and I'm going to pop it over to Stephanie Gilliu with Project South and others. My Zoom is being weird, so I'm not sure what you're seeing right now, but I'm going to get unspotlighted. One last thing is my kids are off of school today for the hurricane. It's not too bad here in Durham, but they're listening in and they're learning a lot. So this is pretty cool. So thank y'all. Off to you, Steph.
Awesome. I think we're seeing our beautiful panel, and my name is Stephanie Gilliu. I'm with Project South, Institute for the Elimination of Poverty and Genocide. We're based here in Atlanta. Super psyched to be with this crew. Super grateful to Tamika Mosley and the Grantmakers for Southern Progress crew and Chantel. So thank you all for having us, and thank you all for being here despite so many challenges. And just in the spirit of the porch, we're going to just kick it off with a little just place, some juicy intros. So we got our bios somewhere in the Hoover world. Y'all can find us there, but let's ground in place. So I'm going to ask each of us to name one thing that you want these folks to know about the place that you're based, where you're accountable to, and really specifically the where and what's juicy about it. What do we need to know? What do we need to remember as we have this deeper conversation about the Southern Power Fund? So I'm going to have Ash kick us off, and then Joe and Rokia, and then we'll jump into this strategic conversation.
Thanks, Steph, and it's so good to see it's like a family reunion a little bit, so it's good to see y'all. Ruki, I can't believe you're even awake. Joe, I can't believe you're even on your feet. Like, it's just I feel proud of this team and the incredible work that we've done together for decades now. So I'm feeling that thing that got me. I'm feeling my feels this morning. So what do I want you to know about my place? I mean, I think, y'all know I'm a Southern supremacist. I think East Tennessee is the best place on the planet. And I think even in the frame I've heard over the last couple of days, you've heard about really challenging things in the communities that I'm accountable to in this region. You've heard about hurricanes, you've heard about like xenophobia, you've heard about sexism and capitalism and white supremacy and nationalism and Christian supremacy and all this stuff. And that's real, but that shit exists everywhere. What I want you to know about my place is we've actually been the tip of the spear at fighting back and ending that shit for longer than any of us have been alive, and probably for longer than we've been alive collectively. So you should fund us not because you trying to save the endangered hillbillies and rednecks and Southerners, but you should fund us because we actually win shit. We have a track record of winning shit. We have a track record of doing that in right relationship with one another, even in all of our imperfections. So you should fund us like you want us to win because we're winners, not just because you've heard that bad things happen to our people. That's what I would want you to know.
Hey, everybody. My name is Joe Talbert Jr., ED of the Waymakers Collective, and I am also a proud East Tennessean, proud Black Appalachian. And with the Appalachian frame, I would like people to know that innovation lives in the hills and the hollers in the city. It's not just a place of gloom and doom, but people are ideating and iterating in real time towards solutions. And that Appalachia is not the scapegoat for all of rural America's problems. And that, yeah, real innovation and creativity lives in the hills and the hollers and the cities that make up this region I love so much.
Thanks.
Man, I gotta come after East Tennessee, after Appalachia. Folks, come on, y'all. That's hard, but it's okay. Cause we bout it over here in Mississippi. Okay, let me tell you, we've been here, been doing it. No, really just love the South. Love all my family here in the South, all of you all. I learned a lot from our East Tennessee folks, and share a lot. And with all of you all here on the call, listen, you should fund the Southern Power Fund, because what we do is actually build infrastructure, strengthen infrastructure, create the opportunities that many of the people we fund and the organizations we fund never get, because you don't even know they exist. We are deep in the woods. We are deep in the weeds. We are in the rural and more city rural places that you don't even recognize, touching the people doing the work, paying close attention and supporting. So yes, I'm here in Mississippi and we're doing work all over. But more importantly than just doing that work, we're also building the capacity of our people to be self-determined and self-sufficient. When the states that we reside in care less about our safety, our health, our ability to thrive, we take care of ourselves. We take care of each other. That's why you should fund Southern Power Fund.
Awesome, y'all. Thank y'all. Y'all doing it with the intros. We can stop there. I'm going to represent a little bit for Houston, Texas, where I was born and raised. And y'all, it's hot there. It is hot in ways that we haven't felt yet, and we have felt some heat. So, we're still going to be eating Frito pies and in the middle of the heat, and still jumping in the pool because that's how we do. But it's hot. So that's something to think about as we're going into this. And I know folks are dealing with so much. I also want to just, root in some juicy love for Atlanta, because Atlanta is fighting Cop City, y'all. We are winning, and it is exciting, and it is a powerful, I think, Southern People's Power move, because we are in it together with all y'all, and we can see. Even if we beat this thing, when we beat this thing, they're going to try to move it somewhere else, and it's going to look like the Deep South. It's going to look like Appalachia, and so we got to stay in it together and be in it together. And so just wanted to start there and just shout out one thing for that. Lady Mansfield is here from the leadership team at Project South. I have transitioned into a senior strategist move, repositioned. And our team has expanded, and Lady and I were able to really co-captain a beautiful organizing team that moved on the Cop City front this summer, and it's been exciting to grow and move. And it is these frontline fights, y'all, that we're talking about. And I just want to recognize all the partners on this call. There are so many partners, like Ash said. We've been moving together for decades. And that's really where the Southern Power Fund is rooted: relationships and trust, built not just in like or love, but in work and the experience that we have together. And so that's really where we're going to start. So I'm going to open this up a little bit just with some introduction and updates about the Southern Power Fund and where we're at. And then we're going to hear more from Joe and Rukia. And then Ash and Tamika and Chantel are going to close us out with some calls to action and commitments, because that's what this is about. And then we'll let y'all move into lunch and to the next steps. I'm going to juggle some slides here a little bit, but I just want to name, what is the Southern Power Fund? Who are we? What have we been doing? And what are we going to do? And what are we working on right now, right? So the Southern Power Fund, y'all, is a political project. It's not really a funder. And I think that we're hearing so many beautiful strategies, and I really commend that we're recognizing leadership like Marco and Thina and others who are moving within philanthropy, innovating within these models. And the Southern Power Fund is in that number as a political project to redistribute resources to frontline organizations in the South, to do just what Rukia said: build infrastructure. We have developed a real practice of interventions on traditional philanthropy to interrupt these harmful patterns and trends that folks are naming in the chat, and a practice of active solidarity that really breaks that divisive competition that we find that folks are naming as well, but to really grow social movement formations so that we're building long-term infrastructure and power. So that's where the power comes into the Southern Power Fund. I'm going to juggle these slides so that y'all can see who we are. Because we're a mix, y'all. We're a mix of anchor institutions like Project South, Song, Highlander, and Alternate Roots that is able to move with some of this bigger money. We're a mix of frontline organizations like TOPS, like People's Advocacy Institute, like Smile Trust that y'all been hearing from, Valencia Gunder, Taproot Earth that's been working on these climate issues for a long time. And we've also got these funder allies with us as well. And so that's been a huge way that we've been able to think through, how do we move together? How do we move in partnership? And how do we break some of those silos and divisions around money that Kim reminded us of so beautifully in that grounding? So that's us. We meet often. We work. This is a group of folks that are working to move this. We were called together in April 2020 by Black Southern leaders to create something that could really do that intervention on this money flow that we were seeing, and making sure that it would do something different than what we've seen before, that it would get to the front lines. But we knew we had to intervene to make that happen during the beginning stages of the COVID pandemic and that incredible motion and momentum around the racial justice uprisings of that year. And so since then, we've been able to clarify our strategies, and we've been able to redistribute over $18 million to 375 groups. I'll just pull these up again, see if I can do it quickly. Maybe not. But let's see. Yeah. Let's see. Nope. All right, that's all good. So we've been able to raise over 25 million. We've been able to redistribute 18 million of that to 375 groups that are Black-led, immigrant-led, Indigenous, queer, and trans-led groups in 13 states. We're focusing on under-resourced rural organizing, Puerto Rico's organizing and understanding our relationship to the global South, and grassroots groups that just don't have that access or get attention from the funder world. And I'm going to see if we can pull this up. We're proud of what we've been able to do, what we've been able to move, and we're excited to show you this map. So let me get to it and give me a little bit of grace. I do not know where it went. Let's see. Mhm. Yeah.
Hey, Steph, if you want to send, you got it. Never mind.
Yeah. Let's see. So yeah, so this is what we're proud of, y'all. We've been able to move a lot. We've been able to get it out there. This is where we've gotten it. This is the map I wanted to show. I just want y'all to feel the visceral feeling of what it means to move like this together, not as staff of a foundation or a fund, but really as movement leadership in solidarity with each other across all this territory and terrain. And we've been hearing from our folks that these small organizations have been really believed in, they've been seen, they've been trusted. We're hearing that from all of these spots around the South that have been able to have no strings attached funding, general operating, been able to move a little differently, been able to leverage that for more funding, for more work together and really achieve what we need to achieve. And in moments of deep crisis, really acute, immediate crisis, we've been able to move quickly. And these are the things that we're really proud of, and that we feel like we're not just moving and redistributing, but we're really trying to develop new practices, innovate on what we do know, and really be able to get to the core of this stuff. Keep losing my stuff. So we're gonna. I do want. Let me pull it up again if I can. And this is sorry. Yeah. I do need help. Let's see. I don't know how to get there.
Hey, Steph, I have your slides. If
You got them, pop them up for me. Yeah, help me out.
Just
we're
tell her
trying-
which
We
one,
proud
Steph.
that you got it this
Yeah.
far, homie. I was like, Steph made some slides. What?
No,
Y'all
no,
are
no,
really
which ones you
good. All
want.
right.
Oh wait. Let's see. I'm trying to give me to slide number 12.
This said it's Mercury retrograde. That we made it this far. Ain't nothing but the Lord. We all right.
Thank you. No, Sierra Hinton, actually with Scalawag and a lot of other great, beautiful Southern communications, is helping us out with some slides. So give me to slide 12, and then I will keep us moving here. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, let's stay on there. Are we there? Because this is where we've moved. So for those first couple of years, y'all, we were experimenting. We were moving hard. And this was to, let's see, let me wait for it. I saw it. There we go. We were moving with some fast experimentation. We were moving with that $1 million and thinking about how to get it there, building trust, building recommendations, building infrastructure and processes. And then we moved into phase 2 and really clarified our movement building strategies. And that's what we're going to hear more about. Intervention, how to fortify, and how to grow. These are our 3 big strategies. And I just want to pause for a minute because this is to really ground us in the moment that we're in. Because we've been asking ourselves questions really since Katrina, right? 18 years ago, and y'all mentioned that. And these questions have rooted us in this work that we've been building over the last 2 decades. And we asked right after that massive legislation about ask that same question with COVID pandemic. How did the response transform?
Your audio, Steph.
Steph, your sound is really choppy for some reason.
This, I think, is Zoom. Amber, are you sharing your audio too, or just your screen?
You got me now?
Just my screen. We
Am
can
I-
hear you now.
Okay. All right. I'm cuter in person, I promise. It's treating us bad. What we've always wanted in this time, y'all, in these moments, and when we're thinking about these before these disasters, right? In that cycle of disasters, before, during, and after, the answer about what we've always needed is more functional and resourced infrastructure, more leadership that's coordinated and ready to move together, more decision-making and governance capacities, and more of our organizations that are prepared to do what we already know how to do. And so the burning question right now is that we are in a new before period. And this is the political teeth, y'all. And we're reminded this by many of our folks here on this call and beyond, that we're witnessing and experiencing in real time rising climate crises. And Colette Pichon Battle of Taproot, who's on the steering committee, reminds us that that is speeding up the rise of fascism and authoritarianism. So we are all experiencing pockets of that, patterns of that fascism, but the 2024 elections, that turning point represents a potential consolidation. So we are working in this phase 3 right now to raise big money, 100 million, to move at least half of whatever we raise to the ground before the elections, so that we're building up, and then work in that phase 4 to support groups in the aftermath. So these strategies to intervene on moments of crisis by supporting frontline groups and growing long-term infrastructure of preparation and recovery, y'all, and to fortify existing Southern social movement formation so they carry on that redistribution. That's when the Southern Power Fund closes down, that's what we're doing. We're not trying to be a funder or a fixture in the South. We are working to convene, to learn, and to move quickly in a challenging time. So you can take the slides down. We will share what we can, y'all, and we're going to be getting these up onto the website. But I'm going to shift to Rakia and open up some conversation. So that's where we're at. And we just wanted to bring y'all into that, but we also want to bring you deeper into our strategies because we hope that this is an inspiration. We hope that this can be part of that bold call to action that Marco made. So I'm going to toss it to Rakia to help us kind of describe the overall impact of the Southern Power Fund, how we've supported frontline groups, and how specifically the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition has used funds to really build out that infrastructure and implement plans on this intervention strategy. And then we'll go to Joe.
Thank you, Steph. And, you know, I mentioned a little bit earlier when I introduced myself how important the Southern Power Fund is to building infrastructure, to strengthening capacity here in Mississippi, but to all of the places that we fund. But as someone who's here in Mississippi and has been doing work for a while here, you know, the Southern Power Fund really created a space, gave us an opportunity, rather, to expand our efforts and to build or fill, rather, a gap of in rapid response relief, a gap in creating a coordinated effort of organizations and individuals that could come together and collectively respond faster than any state or city or any bureaucracy could. And so I can't understate the significance of this fund, not just to me and the work that we're doing, but to so many groups across the South in places that you don't even remember is a part of the South, like Kentucky. Really responding, really providing and helping to build. But to jump back to the Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition, we talk about climate. I will tell you that here in Mississippi, the majority of Black people, we weren't thinking about climate. We weren't thinking about it every day in the way we needed to. We were experiencing, right, the harsh reality of what it was doing to our lives, but it wasn't until 2021 when we had the winter storm that we lost power, we had no heat, we had no water, all our pipes froze and then eventually burst, over 130 pipes burst, had no way to make meals, had no way to drive on what looked like roads and highways filled ice skating rings, right? Most people in Mississippi don't even own a real coat. You just wear 2 sweaters in the winter because it doesn't get that cold. But in 2021, in February and March of 2021, we experienced, like Texas, we experienced unprecedented cold temperatures, and we were in no way prepared. But through the efforts of the Southern Power Fund, we were able to not only mobilize our over 30 organizations from across the state to come together. And 2 days after the ice storm, 2 days after this winter storm, we're able to get 4-wheel drive trucks in unsafe conditions. I'm telling you, I almost killed myself a couple of times. To literally get to people just who are elders, are people who were on dialysis machines, people who just needed something to stay alive. We were able to get them electricity, kerosene, heat, water, a hot meal. We were able to do the work necessary. Moving past that, the Southern Power Fund helped us build a strength in our infrastructure to where we were able to serve, we have served over 155,000 Mississippians across the board. Since 2021, we have been able to meet the needs during hurricane season, during tornado season, during all of the unprecedented floods that we've had since 2021, in all of the recent power outages we've had, because we're reaching temperatures of 105, not on a heat index, but literally 105 walking out the door, right? We have been able to provide people through our water crisis of 2022 all the way up until it gets fixed, including now with water filters, with water testing kits. We have a ground team that was able to be established and is working daily doing wellness checks by the brilliance of Valencia V, who you all heard from yesterday, a Smile Trust, who trained our people on how to do that. We were able to provide hotels to people, not just in Mississippi, but those that came to Mississippi because of hurricanes, that Hurricane Ida and other storms and hurricanes that came. So they had to come here. We were able to provide them with hotels and places to stay and formula and hospital, medical and hospital allowances to help them get their medication or go to the doctor in times of need. We have been able to create a very structured, a very clear and committed team of people who at a moment's notice are able to dispatch relief to anywhere in the state that is needed. And that could not have happened without the Southern Power Fund. We provide relief to the cities that we come into. Not just the people of the cities, but we serve literally as their rapid response entity, because more times than often, they don't have one. When the Red Cross needs help, they call on us. And so this is the work that the Southern Power Fund supports and helps to build. So thank you.
Thank you, Rukia. And that's such not just filling a gap, but building that parallel infrastructure that we have been left behind so long. So that is huge. Thank you for that example, and we'll come back around. So that's part of the whole strategies that we've been working, and from doing that work, particularly that time that Rukia is talking about, we really grounded and did some strategic planning from the learning and lessons of that year of COVID, of climate disasters, of how we were able to move, what we were able to do, the responses we were getting from the groups. And that's when we developed those 3 redistribution strategies: to intervene, which for us means regular, no strings attached general operating funds to frontline groups in enough sizable chunks, $40,000 chunks, to nourish the roots of the organizing ecosystems. and then to fortify, to build the capacity within existing multi-organization collaborations, which Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition is one of those formations, to be able to deepen and fortify, strengthen those collective efforts, to resource the ground in effective, immediate, and strategic ways as those Southern Movement formations, and then to grow. So we have worked on the grow strategy to move resources quickly in that rapid response way in immediate crisis, but also to invest in opportunities for long-term infrastructure. So we're going to hear from Joe with Waymakers Collective, which is one of the formations, along with Mississippi Rapid Response Coalition, Southern Movement Assembly, the Go South for Green New Deal, and others that have our multi-organization formations and collaborations to fortify that work across the region. So we'll hear from Joe and to sort of describe the Waymakers Collective in the context of this question of growing movement infrastructure and how the Southern Power Fund has supported that, or how we can partner better.
Yeah. Hey, everybody. And thanks again for having me. So to tell you all a little bit about the Waymakers Collective, we are a community-controlled arts and culture fund that services artists, culture bearers, arts and culture institutions in Central Appalachia. And I'll just share a little bit about our structure, because that is kind of what makes us unique, is that we do our grant making on a nominations basis. And we do that because we have this saying that nobody knows the community like the people living in it. And we know that our region has been severely under-resourced. And so we don't want to just hit, the philanthropy darlings that are the ones that get a lot of the support from the foundations. And so we do this nominations to get to the grassroots level of people who don't oftentimes get funding, because for a lot of our people, this is the first time they've ever gotten a grant. And whether they're funded or not, we invite them into voting membership. And what voting membership allows is to become a member of our board of directors. And from there, they can serve on the steering committee and all of that. And so the Southern Power Fund has been really supportive because we're new. And so there's a lot of things that we're iterating in real time. And one of the things that I think is important about the Southern Power Fund is the money is great. We need it to do the things we do. But the brain trust on that steering committee slide, I think is more important, is also equally important, because it allows us to learn and have a community of people to ask our questions, because the collective is very much stronger than the individual. And so it's been great for us to be able to know that as a new person who never saw myself in any kind of philanthropic role, to know that I have people who are working in a similar way and in a similar fashion that I can bring all my pesky questions to, because I love questions. Many of you who know me know that. And so just to be able to have a community of people who are values aligned and committed to the work has been invaluable as we iterate. And so one of the things that has been coming up with our voting membership and the folks who opt into serving on our board is that a lot of people don't really know what it takes to do community governance right off the bat, especially being caretakers of financial resources in a region that isn't often trusted with these types of resources. And so what we're finding is that people are needing that political education about why it is important that we hold this money in common and in community control. And so that's kind of where we're at, and where I think the benefit of that brain trust that is the Southern Power Fund can help us empower our people to not just opt into voting membership, to stay in the flow of financial resources, but to actually empower them to be informed decision makers about the strategies that we have in our vision. And so that's one of the beautiful things is that, yes, it is about resources, but the Southern Power Fund is so much more in the ways that they truly want to be in community with you and to help you grow and to fortify not just the financial resources, but also the knowledge and wisdom that comes from doing this work for many, many years.
Awesome, Joe. I want to ask just a little follow-up question. So with these particular formations that the Southern Power Fund is investing hard in, right? So $250,000 a year per formation, right? That this is heavier investment so that these formations can then become the redistribution bodies that we need, right? And all of us are experimenting within those formations about how to do this, how to have it deeply rooted in community governance, like you just described, which is really powerful. And so just to name, what do you think we can learn from each other? Because that's one of our goals as the Southern Power Fund is to convene these formations and really learn across these strategies and implementation mechanisms for redistribution. So based on what you've learned so far within Waymakers, what you know about some of these other formations, what can we learn together?
Oh man. I'm like, all of the things is my easy answer. I would say the political education piece and ways to do that in reference to money, because I realize that there's so much shame, and I'm sorry that my answer is the same, but I do think the political education piece and how to do that in relation to the different strategies that these different formations are taking, I think is important. Because what I'm seeing in the work with Waymakers is that a lot of people feel the thing, but don't know the trajectory of how we got to what they're experiencing. And so I think that that is important, especially when we talk about community control, because we know that these financial systems have been created and the information about them intentionally withheld from so many of our communities. And so that part of the political education, because I feel like if we want people and communities to hold these resources in community control, we have to empower them with the knowledge and history so that, again, they can have their feet rooted in charting a new path for our communities.
Awesome. So that's beautiful, Joe. So to me, I'm hearing like deep political education with all the folks that we touch, all the groups that we've been able to move with, all of these formations, but also what are the radical accounting practices that we need to be able to move like this, to be able to create mechanisms that can sustain. And honestly, within a moment, a political moment that is deeply, deeply, deeply hostile, how do we protect ourselves? And when we start moving money, and y'all know this, we all know this, and we definitely are seeing it and knowing it in Atlanta, when you start moving big money, when you start redistributing resources, you could be looking at the SWAT team in front of your house at 9 in.the morning. That's what happened to the Atlanta Bail Fund here supporting Cop City. So we know that this is dangerous work, and that financial bookkeeping management, we need support. That's an ask from philanthropy. That is an ask from folks that have been moving with wealth for generations. That's a way that folks can support, is to help us build that part of the infrastructure. Don't hold that up inside a building in New York City. Let's find ways to expand and know how to do that together. And that's one of our big goals with Fortify, is to learn from each other, do that political education work, but also to make a lot more happen. And I kind of want to toss that same question, just what we've been learning to Rukia, and what we could continue to learn over the next few years, and what we need to learn from each other to be able to do this work bigger and better.
It's such an important question. And I think that one of the biggest lessons that we need to learn is that we have to engage in due diligence. We have to do our due diligence in terms of making sure we're reaching every corner of the South. One of our team members, Wendy Shenefeld, reminds us of that every time we're on our calls. So it's to be responsible and mindful of who we are engaging. And so she reminds us that, Yes, there are places in the South that we all are more familiar with, but then there are so many places in the South that we don't even know, and it takes time to fully understand and to build relationships with. And so one is doing that deep research and engaging in that way. The other thing that I would say is that we have the ability to think outside of the box. And many of you all already do that. Y'all are creative minds. But we have to do it in every aspect. And I think that the Southern Power Fund has really proven what it is to just not be a funder, but we're not a funder, not to just be a resource, but to be a partner, a true partner in the projects that we're engaging in. And that partnership looks like when there is, going back to rapid response, a need, an immediate need, having a team of people that are ready and able to actually engage in the work that it's going to take to realize the response that is needed, to become a part of the team on the ground, to help to move in the way that is necessary. And the Southern Power Fund has absolutely been that, has been a partner in so many ways for so many different crises of different magnitudes, of different issues throughout our existence, whether it's Cop City, to work that was happening in Kentucky, to work in Mississippi, to work in Tennessee, to just so many times where we've had to jump in, right? To work around the violence around, our siblings, our trans siblings who were being brutally, harmed. So, I think there's something important and special about that, and being able to think creatively about how we can help. One example is, during our 2020, during the 2021 period, where we were doing rapid response. And this might have actually been during Hurricane Ida, because right after we had the winter storm, then Hurricane Ida hit. So, I don't remember which crisis it was, but Chantel Fisher was one of the team members, and it was more. I'm just throwing out you, Chantel. Sorry for just calling you out. But really organized to provide cash relief to people just to get them into hotels for the night. Relief to people just to get them evacuated from Louisiana and New Orleans as we were moving. And she had to organize groups of donors and funders to do that work that could use their own resources. That's thinking creatively, where we didn't have the capacity anywhere to actually get people that money in real time. She was able to think creatively to make sure that happened and people got the relief that they needed. Sorry, I could be long-winded. Y'all know I'm a lawyer.
But it's also super clear. So thank you. No, and it's perfect. And this is an offering, right? We're hoping that the shifts that we're making is an offering to you all in different ways at every level, right? So from Southern Power Fund side and from Rukia, from where we are at, we're shifting so that we can be in deep accountability to the ground and deep accountability to folks who are moving, so that we can find ways to make it work. And when we're shifting, we're trying to urge us to shift from philanthropic grant making to movement redistribution, right? From having to justify who we are, what we do, that we know what we do, to that shared accountability, right? And to that way that we're moving in a much more synergized and synchronized way. And definitely some of our big partners like Solidaire, Grant Makers for Southern Progress, others have been super helpful in that. And so I'm going to shift to Ashley, because we've been working on how to shift from this idea of just rapid response and just those first few weeks of urgency and emotion and deep need to a bigger understanding of intervention, where we can move and really think about that before, during, and after these crises, and so that we're reimagining that, how we build, what we build, who we build with, and how we deepen that accountability. So I just want to toss that question within the GROW strategy, which we have shifted a little bit to say, this is our rapid response fund. Sure, we're going to move when we need to move, but we're also going to be thinking about how to invest in that long-term infrastructure that can really provide that field and sort of coordinated constellation that we're moving within in any crisis.
I'm gonna do all of that light lift. I'm gonna do it. First thing I've got to do though is shout out Sarah Bandy, because none of this shit would be possible without her. And I see your beautiful face. And shout out to all of the admin staff, the finance staff, and all of the organizations on the steering committee, because none of this money would move without them. And they doing that on top of their everyday job, right? We don't get, it's not like, y'all feel me? It's not a brick and mortar foundation. We not a fund. We're not a founder like that, right? So we doing this as a part of our capacity building work, our solidarity work. This is stuff we do on top of our 80-hour weeks, right? So shout out to all of y'all, our finance teams, and to Sarah for making sure that the wheels stay moving. The second thing I want to do is just be like, towards not selling it anymore. Can we just get some confirmation that the funders on this call see that we've proved the concept? Can you just wave at me or give me a thumbs up or say amen in the chat or something, so that we're not trying to prove to you that the Southern Power Fund works? Have we moved beyond it? I think we're there. Okay. So I think that's important for a couple of reasons. One is because rewind in time, I hate to take us back to such traumatizing days, but rewind in time. The Highlander Center office has been burned down by white supremacists. Black churches have been on fire all across the US South. Storms, man-made storms, have been not only increasing in frequency, but also increasing in impact, right? Negative impact to our communities. So all of those things were happening. And then COVID shutdown happens. The state of California raises $100 million in one day for their one state. And several of us in this that now make up the Southern Power Fund came to our funder friends and said, yo, $100 million from one state. We're the largest geographic region in the United States. We've got the highest concentration of Black folks. We got the highest concentration of LGBTQ plus folks. We got the highest concentration of low wage workers. And y'all can't raise $100 million for 13 to 15, depending on who you ask, states? Really? That's what we talk about? And we got every excuse in the book. Y'all remember we got, well, we're a foundation, we can't move that quickly, or, we got this 5% cap, or, y'all are just able to reach smaller organizations because you're intermediaries that don't have to deal with all the bureaucracy of foundations, all of that. And we heard it and we figured it out, right? We figured it out for the sake of saving lives. We figured it out. It wasn't just about charity. It wasn't just about being able to pat ourselves on the back for doing the right thing. It was literally making sure that the folks in our neighborhoods and some of us could live to fight another fucking day, right? So I just wanted to make sure that in this moment where we're going to get jostled back and forth into what tactical intervention is the most important, the elections or grassroots base building, in a time where we're going to hear a bunch of excuses about how the rubber band stretched in 2020 is now starting to contract because rich white people are concerned about recessions or uncertainty about elections and all sorts of things, that now isn't the time to retract. We proved the concept. Now is the time to go even further, right? Now is the time to kick the door even wider for the sake of people having what they need. And in that vein, this piece around rapid response, I just want to be super clear. There's nothing rapid about these storms, right? We've been knowing these storms were coming. We've been telling people about these storms. Me and Rukia and V and Colette Pichon Battle and Mama Naima in North Carolina and a bunch of our folks have been saying, y'all, the storms are going to happen. They're going to happen more frequently. They're going to be more intense. We are now living in a reality where we are going to have a winter storm every winter. We're going to have tornadoes every spring. We're going to have hurricanes every fall, rinse, repeat, right? We are not shocked anymore when state-sanctioned violence steals the lives of our people. It's not usually surprising. We know from Operation Ghetto Storm that a Black person in the United States is murdered by a police officer, security guard, or a vigilante every 28 hours. There's nothing shocking about that. We've had that data for like a decade, right? When strikes start to pop off, it's not shocking down here because folks have been exploited and the profit from their labor stolen from them for as long as most of us have had people on this continent, right? These things that we're saying require rapid response actually are wholesale preventable if philanthropy would quit putting platinum band-aids on the gunshot wounds of capitalism and white supremacy in our communities, right? So that being the case, Southern Power Fund is thinking about, all right, y'all, how do we get out of the habit, as Norma Wong would say, of having one muscle really, really, really strong, really developed, really trained up around rapid response at the expense of actually curing the causation in the first place, right? I've gotten misquoted all over the place in philanthropy about fund us like you want us to win. I still believe that, and in the context that I said it, I think it's still right. Alan pushed me to think more about like fund us like you don't want to exist anymore. Fund us like you actually want people to be able to live their best lives in healthy, sustainable, and equitable communities, and that you really believe that if they had the resources themselves, those folks that are most directly impacted by these pain points, that if they had what they needed to actually solve the solution, we wouldn't have to do this anymore, right? So how to do that then, right? Because what you could hear is me say that and then be like, oh, great, we just need to move more money to the South. So my foundation needs to give more money to national intermediaries who can then trickle down resources to people in the South. That's not what I'm saying. I'm absolutely saying the antithesis of that. I'm saying that we actually have the infrastructure in our region to move this money right now, right? To the people that actually are doing the work, not getting credibility and proximity to the work. I'm saying that we're not asking foundations and major donors to come up with strategies at the expense of movement direction. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying the Southern Power Fund's right here, right now. Cantigo's right here, right now, right? There's so many folks on this call that are both practitioners and moving money that are in the region that know the partners, right? I'm saying give to those folks who treat this resource distribution not as charity, but as solidarity, because I can't win unless all my comrades have the money to win too. I can only move as quickly as the least funded Southern org. The last thing that I'll say, well, last two things, beginning and end of a sentence, is that one, getting out of this habitual relationship with philanthropy where something terrible happens, we're expected to come and describe the water that we're drowning in to you, as my partner would say. During the crisis, but before the crisis is over, Jackson still ain't not in crisis, right? Waymakers has literally just survived a life-threatening experience with people who are homophobic and anti-Black. Highlander is in a never-ending relationship with the defense of not only ourselves, but all of our colleagues, right? Project South is out here doing the Lord's work while these police and gentrifiers try to destroy them at every inch of their capacity, right? To expect us to continue to come and talk about the trauma that we're currently experiencing in the middle of the crisis, while expecting us to have the capacity to stop the crisis, do all the other work that we were expected to do, and to do it on pennies to the dollar of what y'all give to national organizations to do the same fucking work that duplicates what we do at the expense of our own infrastructure, is no longer acceptable, comrades. The train is out of the station. Fascism is not only on the way for all the rest of you, but currently here for us, right? Now is an opportunity. We've got, 2 years till fascism is not just a foregone conclusion, but currently in practice. And we've got an opportunity to do what we could have done in 2020, right? We could have raised, or even before, we could have raised $100 million to distribute across the region. Frankly, I think that number's too low. But what I know is that if I say 100 million for Southern Power Fund, what I'm going to trust is that you're going to spread all the rest of it across all these other incredible experiments that are happening across the South to move money by us and for us to us, right? I'm going to trust that when you give $100 million to the Southern Power Fund, you're going to turn around and do the same thing to Contigo, right? Because let me tell you, what we're not going to do as the Southern Power Fund is compete with our comrades. We're not going to do that. We're not going to do that. And we're not going to be wrapped up in national shit that makes Southerners pit each other against each other. We're not going to do that. So I'm going to trust that when you hear me say $100 million, you're going to blow it out of the water. You're going to blow it out of the water because you're going to give us more than $100 million, and you're going to blow it out of the water because you're going to give all of these other experiments as much money as you can put in their coffers, right? Because now's go time. If you believe that as goes the South, so goes the nation, it's happening now, right? If there is a revolution to be had, it will start here, and it will be because of the people that you're hearing from on this call, right? So I want you to give us the 100 million. And I promise you that when you do, we will distribute half of whatever we've raised between now and the November 2024 elections. I'm going to say it again for the people that were a little slow to the catch. I'm telling you that the sooner you get me 100 million, the sooner we can get it out the door. Why does it matter, Ashley? Well, you already know. Most of these foundations ain't going to move this money till August of 2024. And most of that is going to be C4 dollars. And most of that, even the C3 money, isn't going to go to the folks that are actually doing the goddamn work. All right? It's going to, well, I'm not going to name names. Y'all know who it's going to go to. It's going to go to national organizations that get credibility and proximity to the life-saving and sometimes putting life at risk work that my comrades on this call are doing and the partners that we work with are doing. So if you get me $100 million, you get the Southern Power Fund, this incredible investment that is too little and honestly, sometimes too late. We will move at least half of it between now and November 2024. Okay? And if you do that, to Stephanie's earlier point, it'll get us out of this cycle of thinking that all that matters right now is getting through the most immediate crisis, when actually all of the systems of oppression consolidate and escalate here, right? Every front line of struggle happens in this region, right? So all of the crisis on every front line is disproportionately impactful here, which also means that the revolutionary work that we're doing to uproot that shit is right here, right? If you give it to us, we will be able to get out of the cycle of only thinking about rapid response and be thinking about before, during, and after the strategic interventions, the tactical interventions that we're making to build a new South where everyone gets to thrive, where all under heaven is intact. That's the importance of the Southern Power Fund and the shift that we're making to grow and to fortify. That's what I got.
Awesome. Thank you. So this is our crew, y'all. I mean, we're organizers and we do this like organizers, right? We listen to the ground. We are on those front lines. We understand the terrains we're on. We assess the conditions. We assess them as they change, right? We reimagine what's possible together from the bottom up, from the grassroots, from the knowledge and the wisdom of the folks that are experiencing this at the hottest, highest points, right? And we anticipate what's going to happen. And then we make it happen. We make what we need to happen. So that's our organizing commitment to the Southern Power Fund and to the Southern Frontlines through these movement formations. And another shift that we are making in this philanthropic intervention, we don't want to make asks. We want to make invitations. And so Ash has just made a huge invitation. And I want to see if Tamika, if you have other invitations you want to make in this philanthropic space, because we are committed to what's happening right now. We are going to move some funds directly to Florida groups. We know that Grantmakers for Southern Progress has committed to supporting what's happening through the hotel rooms, through the food, through the existing resources that were meant for us to get to the spaces and places that it's needed. in this particular crisis, but thinking ahead, thinking longer term, how are we moving with the groups that you already fund, that you already work with? Give them a little extra right now. Move it now. Move it bold. We can close out with a couple takeaways, but I just wanted to see, Tamika, if you had a couple other invitations, just funders to funders, and ways to think about this from what this panel of beautiful folks has been saying.
Absolutely. All right. I don't think there's nothing else to be said. They have said it all. One of the things I want to make sure I lift up a few things that came up in the conversation that we were having, that I think I need my funders to put on their organizing ears to hear. One, SPF is a priority. They understand this work. They know how to do this work. And most importantly, they have the networks. The Southern Power Fund will be a priority for GSP, as well as the other movement organizations that are moving and infusing resources and capacity across this region. I need you all to think like organizers in your fund, in the spaces which you sit within your foundations, to pull in other partners to raise these resources, not over the next year, but over the next month. We have the opportunity. There's the folk on the ground, y'all are facing unprecedented stuff that's happening across this region. They don't have time to get away from that work to come and ask you for money. We know what the work is. We know that the folks that are on this call and folks that are still not able to get on this call because they're out doing the work, they need us to organize ourselves and get the resources to the ground so that they can do what they need to do. We don't need enough, like Ash said, we don't need us to be strategizing. We don't need us to be creating ways to figure out how to support folk. They already know it. We just need to move the resources. They have proven it. Other formations have proven it. And we just got to do it at this point. We don't need the Southern Power Fund to be another Southern checkbox. We need you to fund all movement. We need you to understand who these movements are. GSP, if you don't know who they are, we can help connect you so that you can get in a space where you can get intimately connected to the folks that are moving the resources and doing the work on the ground so that you can move your resources to them. SPF is an intervention. It's a funding intervention. It's a model that philanthropy can learn from. And so I want you all to realize that this is something that we're doing in this, that they've been doing for decades, that they've known how to do for decades, but you all are now just listening. And so I need you to continue to not just listen, but take action. Put the money on the ground so they could do the work that they need to do. This is not a brick and mortar fund. These are people that are resourcing infrastructure in the South. These are folks that are vehicles to get money where it needs to go so people can have the capacity to do the work, fighting for people to live. So you all understand what has been asked of you. Now I want to see how many of you gonna stand up and take the call, because that's what we need to do in this moment. And I'm gonna turn it back over to Steph, because we also got to make sure people get a minute to take some nourishment for their bodies. So Steph, you can wrap it up. If you all have questions about how to get the money moving, please, you can contact me. You can contact Chantel, and we can support you all getting the space to move the resources to the fund.
Awesome. Thank you, Tamika. And yeah, Amber, if you'll just kick us with that last slide 25, we can close out. This is an invitation to move now, to move with us and to move bold. In Florida, move your resources to the folks and groups you're already in relationship to. Move it now so that they can move quickly. And then let's go bold. Let's go bold with it. Now this one I can probably do. Just so we can, heed the call that folks are making as we close out, right? Be bold with it. Invest in Southern movement infrastructure. Support the Southern Power Fund and all the frontline groups. Support the movement formations that you know and love that are moving in all the different ways, on political front lines, on climate front lines, on using culture, all of the ways that we're doing it in moments of deep crisis and in moments of calm when we can really build what we need to be able to not just survive these crises, but to actually build the liberated spaces, places, and world that we know and dream of and have imagined for a long time. So we're in this together. I just want to thank Ash and Joe and Rukia and Tamika and Chantel and the whole steering committee that works hard on this particular fund. But I also want to just shout out every single group that we have been supporting in different ways, and the ways that not everybody sees. But we're hoping that we can see more and more of, whether that's Del Rio, Texas, on the front lines of the border crisis, or Appalachia groups dealing with 1,000 types of floods and crises, to Mississippi, to down into Florida, that V is reminding us over and over is dealing with climate gentrification, migration, displacement, and what that's going to need and require of all of us over not just the next year or two, but the next 10 to 20. So thank you all. We'll let y'all go with that sort of bold invitation to move with us, and I'm grateful to have the space and place to talk to y'all.
Thank you, everyone. So grateful for, I just need about another minute or so. Thank you, Chantel, Ashley, Steph, Joe, and Rakia. Y'all, this is amazing. I feel like we were at a revival and they opened the doors of the church. It's open. We're going to pass the basket. And we got it right here. We have made our plea. We have said, move now and move bold. What more can be said? I got a lot to say, but I'll say it when I come back. But we've got to know this is it right here. This is it. I want you all to go to lunch, come back, get you some nourishment, and sit with this just a little bit and think about what was said, so that when we get ready to move and keep talking about it, we know what we got to say, because Ashley brought it on home. She brought it home multiple times than everybody else did. So y'all have a good lunch, and we'll see you in the breakout sessions at 1:15. Thank you all.